All right, there we go. It's November 14th. Welcome to the call. I think it's a little light because of the holidays and the time change, and who knows what else is going on. But anyway, been kind of a crazy week. I spent the first part of the week at Craig's mastermind, and that was he made quite a shift in that one, the way he did it this time. Uh, anyway, I'm curious to see how everybody likes the new format. But anyway, if you guys have questions, go ahead and come on out with them. I know there's been a lot of crazy stuff as always in the SEO world. New things coming out. The new one, I think it's called BERT, is interesting because they say this new BERT algorithm they're calling it NLP, and not the neuro linguistic programming, but natural language patterns. And it's exactly what I've been saying for a very long time, is Google is now figuring out, with its artificial intelligence, it knows what natural language patterns are. And it's funny because just a couple of weeks ago, I did a webinar with Jay Williams, he's an NLP practitioner trainer. He's a master prac trainer in NLP. And I said, hey, let's do a webinar to your people showing them how you can use NLP on Google itself. And he was all over it. He's like, that's an awesome idea. He goes, does that really work? And that was the whole question. When we opened up the webinar, it was like, the statement was NLP works great on the human mind, but will it work on Google? And the answer to the question was absolutely yes. Because just like in the human mind, you can reprogram the human mind with NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming. We can do the same thing with Google with natural language patterning. So it's basically the same thing. It's just, is it for the human head or for the robotics head? And it's really a cool deal. And it gave me a new angle, which that was my whole point of this, was angles. When you have a new angle for something, that's what we call a big idea. And you can have the same thing, the same product, and continuously come up with new big ideas to market it. It's a way of saying something differently. And that is really what makes ad campaigns successful, is being able to grab someone's attention for something that maybe they've already heard of, but you're going to grab them in a different way. And that's the whole premise of the big idea. But the point of this is, you can have an unlimited number of big ideas to any product or any product line. And the more you have, the more successful that you're going to be. Because it'll give you new channels of traffic from people that didn't hear it one way. We all hear things in different ways. Sometimes you'll hear the same thing multiple times, and then all of a sudden now it clicks. But this is a way of, when that's not happening, how do we say it differently to get it to click? So I'll give you an example of a company that does this really, really well, and it's Agora Publishing. They hire copywriters, and they'll hire anyone. They'll take on any copywriter they can get their hands on. And the deal is, when they hire them, they're hired under this particular criteria. Their job is every 5 to 8 days, they have to come up with a new big idea and marketing campaign behind it. And that way, if they want to keep their job, they can actually keep their job as long as they continue to come up with that big idea every 5 to 8 days. So that's pretty strict criteria for keeping a job. And then they motivate them. There's a motivation trigger behind it that is, if they do well and their big idea converts, then they get a revenue share of the profits off that big idea. But they have to keep on churning big ideas out. As soon as they don't come up with one in 5 to 8 days, they're gone. There's probably some exceptions to that. They probably have some guys that are really, really good, that have climbed the ladder, that, you know, maybe they're a little more lenient on. But that's kind of the general premise of their guidelines for their copywriters. That is the job. If you can't do the job, then you're gone. And you know, think about that. If you had that in your business, if you had a new big idea every 5 to 8 days, how much more successful would you be? Now, I'm not saying that you need to do that. What I think you need to do is come up with one first. Most people don't have one. They don't have a single one, and that is a big part of the reason why they struggle. You know, one of the things that I've seen, the biggest mistake I've seen yet in business, and this is across the board, this is not any niche specific, but the biggest issue I've seen yet is underestimating the job of making a sale. Everybody thinks it's easy. Everybody thinks, you know, I've got this great thing and everyone's going to want it and love it and buy it. And that, going in with that attitude is a mistake, because I don't care what you have, I don't care how good it is, it's going to be harder than you think to sell it. You have to follow a process, and this process is human nature. You know, the more I look at this, and the more I come to realize that selling products is so closely related to dating, it's ridiculous. And the whole process, it's like, it's so related to the entire process of meeting someone, dating them, and marrying them. You know, the marriage is the purchase of the product. And then it becomes a lifelong relationship. If you're good, you don't want a divorce. When you have a divorce, you lose the customer and you lose future income. So it's like uncanny how tightly related it is to that process. And if you think about it, the dating process, that's a human nature thing. That's just in our core of the way we operate. And business is very, very similar. It's almost the identical same thing. So if you think about it in that way, like, you know, for most people, the dating thing is difficult. The getting a mate is difficult. The whole marriage thing is difficult. That's natural. And the people that underestimate that, they generally do a poor job of it. And that's why the, you know, divorce rate is so high, I'm assuming. and that's why, you know, if you look at how high the divorce rate is and how high the business failure rate is, I think business failure probably outweighs it, but they're along the same lines. And I think it really comes down to that whole human thing, is underestimating the job at hand. You know, in business, the job at hand is acquiring customers. You know, in a relationship, in the personal realm, hopefully you just need to acquire one. In the business world, you have to be a lot better. That's probably why the success ratio is so much lower in the business ratio, or in the business world rather. But if you get good at the process, it'll be easy for you to replicate and duplicate and move forward. But think about it, you know, I'll just kind of go through the process and show you where the flaws are, where the pitfalls are. Everybody wants things fast, and that's great. You know, if you're talking about a small commitment, small commitments can be done quickly. Small commitments are very easy to accomplish at a moment's notice. But if you're asking for a large commitment, like a marriage or the sale of a large high-dollar product, that's a larger commitment. If you look at the size of the commitment, you'll see It's a longer process. In the business world, it's called a sales funnel or a sales process, or any number of things, but that's what it is. It's a process. It starts at the beginning and it ends in a sale. In the dating world, it's the same thing. It's a process. It starts with a meeting. Obviously, two people have to meet. They have to make a lot of decisions along the way to decide if a marriage is right. It's pretty much identical. It's an identical human nature process. So if you get it, and you understand the mechanics of it and how nature is working under, the underlying nature is at force here. That force is at work here. And as you know, if you fight nature, you're probably going to get roughed up. If you go along with it, it's like trying to swim upstream. It's a lot easier if you turn your head the other way and you swim with the current. Your job will be much easier. You won't get exhausted and go under and drown. It's everything about our world is all about nature, natural processes. And sales is no different. Dating is no different. The riptides in the ocean are no different. It's like at a very basic level, it's all very much the same. So if you think about your sales process in that way, what do you have to do? You've got to make little, tiny, micro commitments. You can't just come up to somebody cold out of the blue and ask them to buy your product. That's what a lot of websites do. It's like, oh yeah, here's my product, hop on and buy it. And then no one does. And you think, wow, what went wrong? You're swimming upstream pretty hard there. It's probably not going to work very well. But think about how this would work if you were in the real world and you wanted to date someone. If you ask them for too big a commitment, you're going to encounter rejection, right? You meet somebody, you ask them to marry you, it's probably going to be no 99.9% of the time, unless you just met a freak. And good luck with that, as you know. So you go back to the beginning. What does it take? Everything is on a timeline. The timeline always starts where you are and it winds up where you want to be. That's the timeline. It's the same in dating as it is in marketing. Where are you? Where do you want to be? In the dating world, you're alone and you want to be married, right? So that's not going to happen unless you take some steps toward it, right? In the business world, you've got a product. You want to sell it. So there's some steps in the middle, just like the marriage thing. So what are the steps? And you can't just jump from one to the end. You've got to take the steps in the middle. In the business world, it's the same thing in the dating world. Dating world, think about it. What do? You meet someone. You have to meet them, no matter how that happens. It might be a referral. It might be a blind date. It might be whatever, but you have to meet another person as a first step to this process. In the business world, it's the same thing. You have to be exposed to a customer or a prospect, rather. Those two have to meet. It's buyer seller. Somehow they meet. It might be a referral. It might be a Google search, which is the new referral source. It might be in person. It might be at a marketing event, a networking event. It doesn't matter. That thing has to happen. So it might be nice to know how to make that happen. Like in the dating world, they know, hey, if you can't talk to women, you're not going to take the next step. So in the marketing world, it's the same thing. If you can't talk to clients, you can't take the next step. How do you do that? That's your first step. The big idea is an attractor. In the real world, you have to have something that makes them want to know you. It's the same thing. You make yourself intriguing. Some people use mystery. Some people use humor. Whatever it is, it's an attention grabber. It's to engage the person. Is it different in dating than it is in business? I don't think so. I don't see the difference. It's a big idea. It's how do you say the same thing in a different way that compels the person to want to know more? The same thing. I guarantee you it is exactly the same. If you get good at it, you're going to be married and you're going to have a lot of customers. You don't get good at it, you might not have either. And it's as sad as that sounds, it's probably true. You know, you have to be able to do that first step, which is engage another human being. Now, if you're good at this in the real world, that's where we can take it and we can replicate it online. But here's something I can assure you, I've been saying this a lot lately. I can guarantee you this, that there's nothing that's going to work online that didn't first work in the real world. If it doesn't work out there, it's not going to work in here. So the idea of putting a product up and thinking people are going to just come buy it didn't ever work out there. It's not going to work here either. So figuring out what that process is for your product to introduce it, grab their attention, engage them, get them leaning forward, get them wanting more, and now you take them on the journey. This is the timeline. What are the steps to get the person from where they are to where they want to be? And that's the journey. That's called the marketing. That's the marketing funnel, the marketing process, whatever you want to call it. That's what it is. It's a process. Same thing with the dating. You know, once you get them engaged, now it's a process. Now you're going to go through all these steps. You know, you have your meeting, you have your cup of coffee, you have a meeting in public where there's no pressure, and then you move on to the dinner date. You know, if you guys are putting stuff out where you say, hey, come to my webinar, you're asking for an hour's worth of their time. That's like meeting someone for the first time and say, hey, let's go to dinner. I'll pick you up at 8. They're sitting there going, oh shit, do I want to get in the car with this guy I don't know? Do I want to be held captive till he decides he wants to bring me home? That's a big commitment for a first meeting. It's the same thing with asking somebody to come and spend an hour on a webinar before you've really warmed them up. You know, I see that all the time. It's people are putting out a webinar, they're throwing cold traffic at it, expecting them to come spend an hour with them, and it's not working. It's because it didn't work out there first. Think of it that way. If it doesn't work out there, it's not working in here. So what's the proper way to do that? You know, it's a first meeting and then an engagement with very low commitment. It's like you're not asking for an hour of time. You're not asking for, you know, anything beyond just a basic thing. So they call that a lead magnet on the marketing end of things. They call it coffee in the real world. It's not let's go for a dinner date where I pick you up. It's let's take our each separate cars and meet at a public location, you know, like coffee, for instance. Let's meet at Starbucks. You know, if something goes wrong, you get in your car and you leave. You're not held hostage. There's no high level of commitment there. You're just showing up, basically. It's two people showing up, agreeing to show up at the same place at the same time. That's the commitment level there. The lead magnet is the same thing. I'm not committing to sit on a webinar for an hour. I'm committing, I'm saying, hey, it sounds like you've got a cool thing. I'd love to look at it. You know, that's a lead magnet. It's like, here's what it is, here's what it does, here's what I want you to do. I'd like you to just take a look at it and see if it makes sense. That's a low-level commitment in the business world. So if you guys are doing marketing events or networking events and you find a prospect and you're all over them on like stink on shit, you're trying to sell them on the first thing, they're going to think you're a freak and they're going to want to get the hell away from you. It's just a meeting. It's just of, hey, Are you interested? Maybe we should set up a coffee date. That's all it should be. It's just generating a lead. It's not making a presentation. That's going too fast. It's out of order. The whole purpose of the first meeting is generate a lead. It's let's have coffee, generate a lead. Let's find out if we're a match. Then we'll talk about the next step. Next step in business might be a webinar, might be a sales page. It might be a sequence of videos. It might be a 7-week email series. It's warming them up. It's like all these little micro meetings where you're building trust, you're building rapport, you're building a desire for them to want more and to be with you at a higher level. Then you make the sale. Then you ask for the dinner date. Then you ask for the kiss. That's the right order. So in the process, like in the business world, I'll focus more on the business world. I think you guys get the idea about the dating. You know where that's going. In the business world, we're going toward a sale. Once we make a sale, now we have made a monumental shift. They just went from girlfriend to wife, or they went from boyfriend to husband. That's a monumental shift. There's a much higher bond and commitment level now. It's as big between a prospect and a customer as it is between a girlfriend and a wife. Guarantee you that. Once you're married, you don't just split ways. Maybe you have an argument or a fight or whatever, but you generally come back together because it's harder to go back out and start over. It's the same thing with a customer. Once you acquire the customer and they have a comfort level with you, they put their trust in you. All right? They committed to you. They married you. It's much easier to fulfill them for a lifetime, sell them over and over and over. They'll stay with you forever if you just keep them happy. The problem is when you abuse them. Once you acquire them as a customer, a lot of people abuse their customers. Biggest abuse is ignoring them. You don't talk to them. What do you think is going to happen if you don't talk to your wife? Somebody's going to talk to her and she's going to like it. And guess what? She's going to leave you. It's the same thing in business. I mean, I don't know if this is actually kind of amusing for me how closely this is all related. But I mean, you guys tell me if I'm wrong, but I think this is like as close as it gets as far as, relating one thing to another. And it really all spirals back to human nature. That's what we're talking about here. If you understand it, you understand the mechanics, then you can fix the car. If you don't understand the mechanics and the car breaks, you're walking. You're not going anywhere. But if you understand the mechanics and you understand how the engine works and all the stuff under the hood, and something goes wrong, you'll know right where it went wrong. You'll be able to go right to it, turn some screws, fix it, and get back in the car and drive again. So it's really important that you get that idea. This is not easy. If it was easy, everyone would be married, everyone would be happy, and the world would be a better place. But it's not. And it's hard. It's hard in business. It's hard in life. And it's all because of the same reasons. There's a natural flow. There's nature. There's forces of nature at work. And if you're willing to go for the ride and swim downstream and be in core with that, things will be good. Things will be easy. Things will work. If you fight it, I think you all know what's going to happen. It's like fighting a riptide. You're going to get tired. You're going to get worn out. You're going to get sucked under, and then you're going to be done. And nobody wants that. But it happens every day, over and over and over. And it's so unnecessary. It's like there's calm water just 3 feet to the side. If you, again, if you understand the mechanics, you'll know when the car is broken, you know how to fix it. Just swim 3 feet to the side, you're in still water. Now you can rest and come back into shore. So, you know, that's what happens in business. So many people get in that riptide, and they fight it, and they get frustrated, and they get exhausted, and pretty soon they give up, and then they're done. And then they go back to work. They go back to a day job. And that to me is just like the death of your business. That's the death of your dreams. You know, that we're all in business because we want freedom. And, you know, it's just make sure you get in the right business. This is another thing, kind of it's off the line of where I was going here, but it is very much on the line of where I was going here. And it's the idea of people think that they have a business when they really don't. They've just created a job for themselves. And again, that's like hiding reality. I don't think anybody originally aspires to business to have a job. They don't really want to work. I mean, business is hard work. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of hard work in creating a business, but it's a means to an end. A job is not. A job is not a means to an end. A job is a way to get by. A job is a way to trade your time to get by in life. You might get by better than others, but you're just getting by. If you can't leave your business for a week, 2 weeks, a month, and come back and have it still be the same and still running and still generating money and not have a disaster, that's not a business. That's a job. Think about it. What would happen if you worked for somebody and you decided, oh yeah, I'm just gonna leave for a month? What would happen when you came back? Probably wouldn't have a job. And if your business is like that, that's a job. That's not a business. A business will run on its own. A business will run without the owners having to be there. You know, like look at McDonald's. They've got so many systems in place. The management could literally leave the country and that business would run because they've got processes, they've got systems, they've got training. They can take any kid, drop them in the system, and they'll train themselves and they could do the job and the business will run. You really should be looking at your business like that. If you're tied to it, if it's directly connected to your time to make money, that's a job. It might be a good job, don't get me wrong. It might be better than any other job you could think of, but it is still a job. So let's not kid ourselves and think we've got this big booming business, because that's really not what it is. I mean, you can have a great job and it can afford you blocks of time off, but when you're in that block of time off, you're not generating income. What you're doing is you're stockpiling income so you can take time off and you can burn that pile down and then you're starting over. That's not the way a real business works. So anyway, I know you guys probably don't want to hear me rant on and on about this stuff. Come on out if you got questions. If there's anything specifically I can help you with, go ahead and unmute and come on out here.
Hi, John. Doris here.
Hi, Doris. How's it going?
Very good. I'm working hard on this campaign and I did the video. It turned out 12 minutes. So
Okay.
how do you find a video with 12 minutes on a landing page? Is that a bit too long?
Well, here's the thing. A video, I always say there is no right or wrong time on a video. It's how long the video takes. Now, if it's 12 minutes and you're not keeping them engaged, then I would say it's too long. If it's 12 minutes and it's 12 really good minutes and it's like they're on the edge of their seat and they're going to stay with it, then I would say 12 minutes is fine. But if you have it where it's not really keeping their attention and it's not really benefiting them, like somebody, think about it this way, and it's back to the whole dating thing. If you meet with someone and think about it, you're going to sit down and you're going to be doing the talking for 12 minutes. By the end of the 12 minutes, so then you go, holy shit, should I be sitting here? What did I do? What, you know, and in the online world, it's even worse because they don't have to sit there. They can stop it. They can go on to another page. If you're really engaging and the person's leaning forward and what you're saying is really, really touching their heart and they want more and they can't get enough, then 12 minutes is fine.
Yeah, I have the option to break it down into 4 sections because it's really, and I'm thinking maybe I should put each section where it's relevant in the writing.
Okay.
And this way people don't have, because honestly, I feel it's a little bit too long, although I love my product.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's so interesting, but of course somebody watching may not. Okay.
Yeah, and we've kind of talked about this before.
Yeah.
We all love our stuff and we all think it's great and it's the best thing on earth. But what matters is not what we think. Nobody cares about us. Nobody really even cares about our products. What they care about is they care about themselves and they care about, hey, they're in this turmoil or whatever it is and they want to get out of it. And what can you do to help them? So
Yeah.
if you're talking benefit-driven statements, they're going to be listening. They're going to be, well, wow, this is really cool. And you're answering questions like, you know, will this really work for them? Remember all the objections. Your prospect, they have all these beliefs in their head. Like, you know, for instance, one of the reasons why it's a big decision whether they want to go on a dinner date and get in your car, it's the whole stranger danger. You know, they have a belief of, you know, there's bad people out there, and I don't know if you're one of them. And people are going to think the same thing. They're going to think there's people out there that are just selling a bunch of crap, and I don't know if you're one of them. So when you're talking, if you're addressing those objections and you're really pulling on their heartstrings and you're making them fall in love with you, that's really the goal. And the only way they're going to fall in love with you is if you're speaking their language. If you're talking about what's important to them, not necessarily about what's important to you or your products. They want to hear what's important to them. Now, if you've gone on the journey that they have been on, or you've led other people on the journey that they've been on, that's an interesting story because they can all of a sudden see themselves in the picture. And they know what they want, and now they're seeing you as the person that can get it for them.
Yeah.
So you see the angles there of how you really need to take them on that journey and get them to fall in love with you.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to send it to you on the landing page when it's all done. I could always change it later.
Sure.
But I'm thinking it's just too long. And
Okay.
I'll break it down because with the script also. So people who want to watch video can, or they want to read, it's all in the script.
Okay.
It's very exciting. It's coming together. I did my audios. I sound terrible, but never mind.
Well, I think your campaign's really good. You know, we worked on that for a while, and
I know. I'm so dying to get it out there. Anyway, Black Friday, here we come.
All right, get it out there. That's true. That's another thing I wanted to mention. I'm glad you mentioned that because I kind of forgot about it there. There is sales opportunities throughout the year when people are in a different mode. And remember, I talked about the being in stream, like swimming downstream. people are conditioned for certain things. Like, think about this. Here it is. Here's a perfect tie. Perfect tie into the dating thing. When are people in stream? When are they focused on a date? When is it like if they don't get one, they're gonna be, something's wrong with them? It's Valentine's Day. Well, what you have is you have the same thing in the buying opportunity with Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Those people are in mode where they think they've got to buy something on those days. And if they don't find the right deal, they think there's something wrong with them. That's a huge opportunity for you. Their guard is down. It's it's like, okay, God, this is amazing how this dovetails in. When the guard is down, things are easy. Getting someone to say yes when they're drunk, their guard is down. Okay? The world is going to be somewhat drunk on those days. They're drunk and their guard is down, and they're going to be much more apt to say yes to things they normally wouldn't. So I don't want to say take advantage of them, but take advantage of those opportunities. I mean, don't take advantage of them and sell them crap just because you can. Give them good stuff, give them good value, just like you always would.
Yeah.
But take advantage of those opportunities.
What about, I'm noticing there's a lot of pre-Black Friday deals going on. How much earlier than, like, what is a week before we start letting people know we have a deal, or offer it
Well,
before?
I have actually noticed that too, and I see it in the big chains. Like, there was Christmas stuff out on the floor at Home Depot before Halloween was even over this year.
That's true.
It's like, oh my God, what the hell is going on? It's like, you're there for Halloween and Christmas is already here. It's like, talk about putting on the pressure. But, it's that whole thing of unique mechanism. When everyone's doing the same thing, you've got to up your game. You've got to have a head start. And you're right, I see the Black Fridays like Target. I was getting Black Friday specials in my email box last week. It was just like the first week in November, and I'm already getting Black Friday specials from Target. So look at the market. In the analysis section, we always look at the market, and we do the competitor analysis. See what they're doing. A lot of times there's reasons for why they're doing what they're doing. In this case, they know this big old snowball's coming, and it's still going to be there for that day, but they can give people a head start. Like, here's something that happens in the real world. Again, it doesn't have anything to do with dating, but it has to do everything with opportunity. When there are estate sales, there are people that are opportunity seekers that want to go to the estate sale. So they know the rest of the world is going to be there on Saturday morning when they open the estate sale. Some of them will contact the person that's putting the sale on, and they're like, hey, I'd really like to come in a day early. Is that a possibility? And that's what you're doing. You're saying, hey, the big sale is going to be over here. All this rush and mumbo jumbo. How would you like to come in a little early and avoid the rush? That's what they're doing. They're like bringing you into the fold. So that's what I always look at is, what's going on and why are they doing it? And it always comes back to that. It makes sense. It's like they're doing it for one of the basic reasons is either to grab attention, to create demand and desire, build trust and rapport, eliminate objections, or just to finally make an offer if you're at the right point in the cycle. But that's fascinating. It's fascinating to watch the world and just for me to understand it from the observation point of I know the mechanics, so I can look at the car and I can see when it's broken. I can also see when they're putting high octane fuel into it. And that's what's going on with all these pre-sales. That's like putting high octane fuel in the car to get more performance out of it. You know, if your high octane car is your sales funnel, let's put some high octane fuel in it and get more performance out of it. That's by making more deals, more big ideas, more angles earlier, more often, better. You know, that all that stuff is like high octane fuel in the tank. So one of the things too, I'm going to do this probably a little later on, like in the coming weeks. I usually do this every year toward the end of the year, but I do a little exercise, and I'm not going to do it now, but I'll kind of give you the basis for it so you can prepare for it. But I go down a list of questions and I ask you, you know, all of these things like, how many offers did you make this year? How many email promotions did you send? And what were your results? And your results are always going to be based on your efforts. And then I ask the question of, do you want to repeat that next year? Or maybe do you want to do more of those things that actually drove the needle forward? It's a really powerful exercise. And you know, I would really encourage you guys to stick on the calls and all that, and participate in that kind of stuff, because this is where you learn. I mean, I've got the training on there. You can go through the training and you can get good at the mechanics, but this is where you sharpen your sword. This is where, you know, if you've got questions, I really encourage you guys to get on here and ask the questions. So, you know, all you have to do is unmute, and I know you're unmuted. I can bring you out on a question. So anytime you got one, don't ever feel afraid to come out here and ask. So all right, guys, I'm gonna open it up here one more time and see what's on your mind. And
did you happen to get a chance to look at my project to see why that page wasn't populating on Kartra? It might be a learning opportunity for the group to see if they have troubles publishing a page. If not,
no, I can do that now. But let me see if I can find it here. So tell me again, what was the issue while I'm digging it up?
okay. Well, the issue is I used your template that I modified for the local SEO boost program, and basically we went through, got everything dialed in, and hit publish, but it's not showing up for the link for the domain that we have on there. So when I type in the link, even that Kartra spits out to me, it says page not found.
Okay.
So, and it does that for all 4 of the pages when I enter them in manually. So that's a problem considering it's a sales funnel.
I have not seen that yet. Let me see here. I'm just looking for your login so I can look at it. Or you want to share your screen?
Sure. Are you going to be able to manipulate my screen on that, or?
No, but I'll be able to see what's going on. I didn't have your login here right here.
All right, let me get it up real quick.
But yeah, sometimes what'll happen is if you didn't set the C record, it might not connect on the custom domains. But if the CNAME record is set and the custom domains are connected, then basically the URL that is published, I've never seen it not work.
Okay, I think I'm just about ready to share my screen here.
All right.
Guess I gotta.
And just in the moment here, Mariette has a question: if iPhones or Macs are currently online. We eliminated iPhones because iPhone, the Apple Store, they changed all the rules and all that, and they're not allowing devices to stay active for more than like 10 minutes. So it just killed the whole thing on iPhone. Mac works perfectly fine still. So Mac, Windows 10, and Android devices are all in good shape. All right, so, okay, let's first, before you do anything, over in the right where you see the little icon of the user, a little more to the right. Okay, so hit the custom domains. Let's just make sure you're connected there.
It says connected.
Okay, so that's good. www. Oh, wait a minute. Hit edit for a minute. Okay. So
Does it need to be S? Is that
up in the domain, it looks like there is a space between the dot.
it does look like that way, but it doesn't show up over here.
Okay. Well, let's okay, just go to next. Okay, that's fine. It always does that. You can close that. All right, so let's go to pages.
Okay.
And let's pick
So
your,
here's this one,
okay.
based off of your template. And
So,
then
yeah, go to edit.
edit. They claimed they were making it faster the other day, so.
Yeah, I haven't really seen the speed increase too much. Okay, so go to actions and let's publish it. Publish live.
Okay.
Yeah, and get the link.
And it doesn't have a space in here. Oh, this one actually has HTTPS on here.
Okay, so hit the edit button.
And do I need to make it Well, they're all HTTPS.
Yeah, no, that's okay. That's fine.
Yeah, but the other thing showed HTTP, no HTTP. It didn't have the S.
Okay, so
When it was linked.
So hit the little checkbox there over on the right.
Okay.
And now copy that link and try it out.
All right.
Because I've never seen this not work.
Not found.
Okay, so it just went to, it
went
was
to a
www and it went to a non-www.
Yeah.
So,
And this is on Chrome too.
okay, so you've got some redirecting going on somewhere that's not right. So let's go back to the domain settings.
Okay.
So go out of there.
Exit.
Yeah, let's go back and look at that.
See, this one right here just has the HTTP. So I'm wondering if I need to switch it to the HTTPS.
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt. And then at the top, you've got the www, but then down here on the index page, you've got no www. I don't know if that's gonna, I don't know if that's gonna make a difference.
Okay, let's try that.
I'm not sure if that's gonna make a difference. Is there, on that domain, is there other stuff that you've got on that domain? Or is it just strictly for Kartra?
It's strictly through Kartra. The only thing that she did when she set this up is she added a blog to it, but I don't think the blog has the blog was done on WordPress.
Okay.
So she like attached it to the Kartra stuff.
Yeah, so what's probably going on when you mix the stuff, like when you set Kartra up as a custom domain, that's you can't really mix that with WordPress. That's like a thing all in its own. And usually, let me look at mine real quick here and see. I don't think I've got www in any of my stuff.
Well, let me see if this will let me post this now.
In fact, I know I don't have www on any of my stuff. See, when you put WordPress into a site, what it does, it changes the HT access and it changes redirects. So what's probably going on is she probably installed WordPress on the domain, and inside there, she's probably got www redirecting to the non-www, the canonical, and that's probably breaking the thing.
I see.
So when you set up a custom domain in Kartra, that's just for Kartra. You can't mix that. So when the CNAME pushes it over there and it hits that and it sees that other redirect from WordPress, that could be breaking it.
Okay, well, let's see.
Because I noticed it forced it to the non-www, and that's a WordPress thing.
It's still forcing it to a non-www.
Yeah, and that's probably because you got WordPress on that domain.
Okay, so
so what I would recommend doing is killing that whole thing, killing that custom domain, and set up like a subdomain, an actual true subdomain. Like in mine, my website's internetdominators.com. When I set up the Kartra custom domain, I set up dominators.internetdominators.com. So all of my Kartra pages live on dominators.internetdominators.com.
Okay.
And my website, my regular Internet Dominators site, it's still got all of its stuff just like it always did. There's no interference there. What you've got is you're trying to mix everything, and it's not mixing. It's not meant to mix. So custom domain is just that. That's strictly to host the Kartra pages.
Okay. So is there?
So I would go back to the drawing board on that, and I would set up a custom domain that is an actual custom subdomain, and then you just set up a C record for that custom subdomain to point to the Kartra page, and then you should be in good shape.
So can I do that directly from one of these pages and just change the link on it, or do I have to?
No, you have to do it with Kartra. Kartra has to have it set up, and then your domain registry has to, or your DNS records have to point to it.
So I have to go into here.
Yeah. Yeah, I would delete that one out altogether.
Edit or delete?
Well, you can try editing it.
What if I get rid of the www?
Can you, up in the top, your domain, can you change the www there?
No, it doesn't let me.
Up in the top where it says your domain?
No, I don't think
See if if the www won't change up there, then you need to
change that.
You need to kill it and start over.
Okay. So is that going to ruin all the pages, or the pages will still all be there?
Pages will still all be there. They'll just go back to the Kartra domain pages.
Oh, so I'll have to just
You just have to once you get your actual custom domain in there, because right now your custom domain's not working because it's fighting with other stuff.
Okay.
It's either meant to be a custom domain as just a flat domain, or a subdomain, not just a www, because you've got the canonical fighting on the www.
I see.
Like your website is set up to be not www. So when you try and force something there, it just forces it out.
So can I just, I don't see a button. Oh, maybe, oh, there it is. I have to move this everything. Okay, over here, use a subdomain. So I could do like roost at
Yeah, and now you just have to set up the CNAME and you should be in good shape.
Okay, so I have to do the CNAME from.
You can do that from, if you have cPanel, you can do it in your cPanel control panel.
I don't know. Would I have to go to like GoDaddy or whatever on there to do
Well,
that?
it depends if your CNAME, if you have a cPanel control panel, you can do it right in there.
I don't have.
If this is hosted on GoDaddy and they're doing your DNS records, then you can do it there.
I don't know what she would have set this up as. Yeah, I have no idea what she set this up. I have to fix
Yeah.
this on my own because I don't know.
All right. Well, that's basically what you need to do. You just need to
Okay.
go set your DNS record for that CNAME,
Okay.
and then it should work. I've never seen it not work when it's set up properly.
All right. Well, good enough.
All right. That should fix you up.
How do I get? I'll stop share. Here we go.
All right, guys. Anything else before we wrap up here? All right. Well, everybody have a great week and get your Black Friday specials ready to go, because this is an opportunity you don't want to miss. And it reminds me, I'm going to do the same. So I'll probably work on that this weekend. All right, guys. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you next week.